This is not advice. I'm not your advisor. All right, let's do a few more. My wife has about $5,000 in a retirement plan. What options do we have, and what should we expect to be deducted from it if we withdraw it to a savings account? You're in Arkansas. She's unemployed because the last employer went out of business. You're thinking about dipping into this to soften the blow. Is this advisable, or would you lose a chunk when withdrawing on it? Is it easy to reinvest in the future? Okay, without knowing what kind of account it is, because people say retirement plan, they mean a lot of different things. It's hard to know. But if it's a 401k, if you just have the check sent to a savings account, you can expect to have 20% withheld. And you will owe taxes and a penalty on it if you withdraw it to spend it. You don't put it back in. So probably more than that 20%. You're just going to have to, you're going to get a 1099, or she will. You'll file that with your tax return in 2020, and you'll end up paying whatever you owe in taxes, and there'll be a 10% penalty on it if you don't keep it in there. What you probably should do, assuming it's a 401k or a 403b, is open an IRA account. If it was Roth money, open a Roth IRA. If it's traditional money, open a traditional IRA, and just roll it into there. There's a couple ways you can do it. Ideally, you can do either what's called a direct transfer, or, well, you won't be able to do a trustee transfer. So direct transfer will be the best you can do, which means it goes straight from where it is now to the new account. If you do that, there won't be anything withheld. If you get a check, you'll have 60 days to put that money back into the IRA that you open. But that 20% is going to get withheld. So it's $5,000. You're only going to get $4,000. And if you don't have another $1,000, and it sounds like maybe you don't, to make up that difference until you get it back when you file your tax return, then you're going to end up paying taxes and owing penalties on that. So that's the thing that makes the most sense, is to roll it into an IRA, assuming it's a real retirement plan like a 401k or 403b. Stocks versus bonds, asset allocation. If you aren't planning to take money out of the stock market for at least 10 years, if not more, what is the point in investing in bonds, cash, CDs, etc.? Would it not be better to just invest 100% in a low-cost index fund that follows the total stock market? And once you start getting closer to take the money out, you can begin moving funds over to bonds. Or should you just never invest in bonds? Well, theoretically, if you're going to leave it alone for 10 years, it makes a lot of sense for the account to be really aggressive. 100% stocks would be the logical endpoint to that. There are a lot of people, they may not need the money in 10 years, but they're 55 years old and they've got a couple $1,000,000 saved up. They might not want to see their $2 million of investments go to $1 million in a big downswing. That might be too much for them to stomach. So for them, owning something in bonds makes a lot of sense. You also don't know what the future holds. So a lot of people don't know if they're going to need the money in 5 or 10 or 15 years. Maybe something's going to come up and they're going to want to move, and they're going to want to be able to buy a house before selling their other house, or buy a first house. There's all kinds of reasons that people would want to own things that are less volatile than stocks. But generally speaking, stocks are going to have a higher expected return than bonds, CDs, cash. So yes, if you think the money's going to be invested for a long time, keep it in stocks. Employer has us use our personal phones. Can I write this off? Your personal trainer, you have to make a certain amount of phone calls. You downloaded an app to track the amount of calls. You use your own service. Can you write it off as a business expense? You're an actual, I think you mean employee of the company, not a contractor. I really, really doubt it. Even if you could write it off as an unreimbursed expense, it would probably have to be an itemized deduction. And I would guess just based off the info you gave, you're probably not itemizing deductions. You're probably taking the standard deduction. So you'd have to ask an accountant to know for sure, but I don't think I've heard of anyone being able to, as an employee, somehow write off their phone expense. No. International stock allocation and rebalancing. You got a 3-fund portfolio that's 90% stocks, 10% bonds, the allocation being about 50-50. You chose this based on some Boglehead's advice. You're debating whether having this high of international allocation is a good idea. You're thinking moving to 80-20. Originally, you just wanted to stick to the market's weight. However, you've recently found out that they're highly correlated. Since the markets are that correlated, you're not sure that giving up U.S. returns for more diversification really matters that much. If you were to choose to reallocate, should you wait for a market downturn? Which market? All of it? U.S.? International? I mean, if you think the U.S. market's going to go down, but not international, you should probably reallocate the other way, right? It sounds like you want to reallocate when things are cheaper, but international things are what's cheaper right now. So you're saying stocks are pricey, but you're talking about switching from being 50-50 between the US ones and the international ones and going 80-20 into the pricey US ones. So I'm not sure what you want here. Sounds like you kind of want to have your cake and eat it too. Is there a reason that the original logic for wanting to be 50-50 between them still doesn't hold? I mean, is there a reason that you think that U.S. stocks are going to return more than international stocks going forward? Obviously, they have looking backwards, but unless you have a reason to think they do going forwards, I don't know why you'd switch. And if you do think they're going to be better in the U.S. going forwards, then yeah, you should probably switch. And there's not going to be any magical timing that you can wait for. If you have that crystal ball, then you don't need to be posting on Reddit.